What party was founded as the Anti-Slavery Party and fought to free blacks from slavery? What was the party of Abraham Lincoln who signed the Emancipation Proclamation that resulted in the Juneteenth celebrations that occur in black communities today? What party passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution granting blacks freedom, citizenship, and the right to vote? What party passed the Civil Rights Acts of 1866 and 1875 granting blacks protection from the Black Codes and prohibiting racial discrimination in public accommodations, and was the party of most blacks prior to the 1960s, including Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Booker T. Washington, and Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.? What was the party of the founding fathers of the NAACP? What was the party of President Dwight Eisenhower who sent U.S. troops to Arkansas to desegregate schools, established the Civil Rights Commission in 1958, and appointed Chief Justice Earl Warren to the U.S. Supreme Court, which resulted in the 1954 Brown v. Board of Education decision ending school segregation? What party, by the greatest percentage, passed the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s? What was the party of President Richard Nixon who instituted the first affirmative action program in 1969 with the Philadelphia Plan that established goals and timetables? What is the party of President George W. Bush who appointed more blacks to high-level positions than any president in history and who spent record money education, job training and healthcare to help black Americans prosper? What party fought to keep blacks in slavery and was the party of the Ku Klux Klan? What party from 1870 to 1930 used fraud, whippings, lynching, murder, intimidation, and mutilation to get the black vote, and passed the Black Codes and Jim Crow laws which legalized racial discrimination and denied blacks their rights as citizens? What was the party of President Franklin D. Roosevelt and President Harry Truman who rejected anti-lynching laws and efforts to establish a permanent civil rights commission? What was the party of President Lyndon Johnson, who called Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., quote, "that nigger preacher," because he opposed the Vietnam War, and President John F. Kennedy, who voted against the 1957 Civil Rights Law as a senator, then as president opposed the 1963 March on Washington by Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. After becoming president and the FBI investigate Dr. King on suspicion of being a communist? What is the party of the late Senators Robert Byrd, who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan, Ernest Fritz Hollings, who hoisted the Confederate flag over the state capitol in South Carolina while governor, and Ted Kennedy, who called black judicial nominees Neanderthals while blocking their appointments? What was the party of President Bill Clinton, who failed to fight the terrorists after the first bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993, sent troops to war in Bosnia and Kosovo without congressional approval, vetoed the welfare reform law twice before signing it, and refused to comply with a court order to have shipping companies develop an affirmative action plan? What is the party of Vice President Al Gore, whose father voted against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1960s, and who lost the 2000 election as confirmed by a second recount of Florida votes by the Miami Herald and a consortium of major news organizations, and the ruling by the U.S. Civil Rights Commission that blacks were not denied the right to vote? What party is against school vouchers, against school prayers, and takes the black vote for granted without ever acknowledging the racist pastor apologizing for trying to expand slavery, lynching blacks and passing the black codes and Jim Crow laws that caused great harm to blacks?